Miguel Ramos stood at the free throw line of an elite NBA camp in Los Angeles. His hands trembled, not from fear, but from anger. Around him, 5 scouts sat with clipboards. None of them were even watching. They were laughing. "How tall are you?" one asked, grinning. 5'9", Miguel answered softly. A heavy-set scout named Rick Dalton chuckled. "Kid, this league isn't for your kind. Filipinos are good for street ball, not the NBA. Be realistic." Those words hit harder than any missed shot. Miguel had spent 3 years training, saved every peso his family could afford, flown across oceans, all for this. But now his dream was being laughed at. "Give me one drill," Miguel said. Dalton smirked. "One? Fine. Let's have some fun." He pointed to Brandon Reed, 6'6", future first-round pick. The crowd laughed. Cameras came out. The whistle blew. Brandon drove left. Miguel stayed with him. Perfect footwork. Brandon posted up. Miguel stripped the ball clean. Fast break. Spin move. Reverse layup. Swish. The gym went silent. Dalton frowned. Lucky play. Again. 5 rounds later, Miguel dominated. Still, Dalton shook his head. "You're skilled, but this league is about size. Go home, kid." Miguel walked off the court, heart shattering. 3 days later, in a small apartment in Manila, Miguel sat watching NBA highlights on his cracked phone. His little sister Leah sat beside him. "They said no, didn't they?" she whispered. Miguel nodded. He couldn't even speak. "What will you do now?" she asked. Miguel looked at the old basketball his father had given him when he was 7. Then he whispered, "I'll make them regret every word." That night, he couldn't sleep. Dalton's words echoed, "Go home. That's where you belong." By dawn, he was back on his community court. Bent rim, no nets, cracked concrete. But it was his court. "I can't rest," he said, dribbling endlessly. "Every second I stop, they're right about me." For 6 months, Miguel trained like a man possessed. He didn't just train harder, he trained smarter. He studied tapes of legends, Muggsy Bogues, Isaiah Thomas, Nate Robinson. He broke down their movements frame by frame, how short players beat the odds. Then he discovered something. His height wasn't a weakness, it was a weapon. While tall players had to bend to dribble, he was already low, faster, balanced, unpredictable. He turned his center of gravity into his greatest strength. He practiced stealing from impossible angles, defending from below, turning chaos into control. Word spread in Manila. That kid who got rejected by the NBA, he's training like a madman. One humid afternoon, Miguel's phone rang. "Is this Miguel Ramos?" "Yes." "This is Coach Ramon Vega, Philippine Basketball Association. I've seen your games. I want you to try out." Miguel froze. It wasn't the NBA, but it was professional. It was a chance. He whispered, "Thank you, coach. I won't waste it." The next morning, he packed his bag, laced up his shoes, and stepped into the biggest opportunity of his life. 50 players, 3 roster spots. Most were 6'3" or taller. Miguel was the smallest. Again. They targeted him in scrimmages, bullied him, posted him up, laughed. But Miguel had trained for this exact nightmare. Every time a taller player tried to post him, he stole the ball clean. Fast break, lay up. He ran faster, passed sharper, thought quicker. By the end of tryouts, he had the most steals, assists, and fastest sprint times. Coach Vega looked at his clipboard, then at Miguel. "You made the team." Miguel's knees almost gave out. For the first time in months, he smiled. 3 months into the season, Miguel was still a bench warmer. Until Game 12. The team's starting point guard twisted his ankle. They were down 15. Coach Vega looked down the bench. "Miguel, you're in." The crowd laughed. The opposing center sneered. "They're putting in the tiny guy? Game over." But what followed became legend. First play, steal at half court. layup. Second, forced turnover. Assist. Third, double team split. Three-pointer. The crowd came alive. By the fourth possession, Miguel stripped the same center again. Reverse layup. Down by 6. Final play. Tie game. 10 seconds. Dribble. Step back. 2 seconds. Swish. Arena erupts. Miguel's teammates mob him. The video goes viral. 1 week later, Miguel's phone buzzed again. "Hello, this is Alex Turner, NBA G League scout. We saw your tape. We want to offer you a contract." Miguel froze. Where? Los Angeles. The same city where his dream had been crushed. He looked at Leah, tears in his eyes. "When do I start?" 6 weeks later, Miguel walked into the same gym in Los Angeles. Same polished floors, same lights, same clipboards. And there, Rick Dalton. Dalton didn't recognize him. "Height check," Dalton called. 5'9", Miguel answered. Dalton looked up sharply. Recognition hit. "Wait, you?" Miguel nodded. "You told me to go home, that Filipinos weren't made for this." The room fell silent. Dalton's face flushed. "I've seen your tape," he said softly. "You're incredible." Miguel's tone was calm. "You could have seen it 6 months ago, if you just let me play." The head coach interrupted. "Run the drill." Miguel stepped forward, lightning fast, precise, unstoppable. When it ended, everyone clapped. Dalton walked over, eyes wet. "I was wrong." Miguel smiled. "You taught me something important. The only limits that exist are the ones we accept." 3 months later, Miguel walked onto an NBA floor for his debut. Crowd roaring, cameras flashing. But the real victory came afterward. In the tunnel stood his father, eyes full of tears. "You did it, son," his father whispered. Miguel shook his head. "No, we did." Leah hugged him. The old basketball, the one his father gave him, sat framed in his locker. Years later, when young Filipino players asked him how he made it, he'd smile and say, "They'll measure your height, your wingspan, your weight, but not your heart." He'd tap his chest. This is what gets you there. Because success isn't about proving others wrong. It's about proving yourself right. The night was electric. Every seat in the arena was taken. Flags waved. Chants filled the air. Not just American voices, but a sea of Filipino flags shining like stars in the crowd. Carlo Reyes stood at the center of the court, the ball resting in his hands. The scoreboard read 101, 101. Final seconds. He could hear the heartbeat of millions back home. From Manila's crowded streets to the quiet barangays where kids played barefoot basketball, they were all watching. He closed his eyes for one breath, remembering his mother's words. "Anak, don't chase fame. Chase greatness that makes others believe." The buzzer sounded. Carlo moved. He dribbled past one, spun through another, jumped. The entire world seemed to slow. And then he released the shot. Swish. The crowd exploded. The impossible had happened. A kid from Quezon City had just sealed the championship for the Los Angeles Storms. His teammates lifted him, tears in their eyes. The commentators screamed, "History has been made." But in that chaos, Carlo only looked up, pointing to the sky. He wasn't thanking luck or fate. He was thanking home. Days later, back in the Philippines, murals of Carlo appeared on cracked concrete walls. Kids practiced his moves on dusty courts, shouting his name between laughs. And when reporters asked him what it felt like to be the first Filipino to ever win an NBA title, he smiled softly and said, "I didn't just play for myself. I played for every dreamer who was told they were too small, too late, or too poor to matter." Then he lifted his championship ring to the camera. This is for all of us. The world didn't just remember Carlo Reyes as a basketball star. They remembered him as the man who changed the game by showing the world what Filipino heart really means.